This is Julianne Condia, host of Rewritten. Thank you so much for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Kim Meyer, the host of Choose to Rise here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Choose to Rise, where we talk about living with positive mindsets, how to increase our confidence, building our faith, and living out our life on purpose. A new show comes out via podcast every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if you want to catch the episode live instead, stop by Public House Media around 6:45 Central Standard Time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday as well. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of Choose to Rise. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Throughout history, the course of sports has been shaped by one thing: the fans.
From the moments you never dreamed of,
Abby Wambach has saved the USA's life in this World Cup! Paul, the runner! Loose ball! It's good! Gonzaga! The slipper still fits!
To the moments that still give you nightmares.
Behind the bag! It gets through Buckner! Here comes Knight and the Mets win it! He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his fifth!
through the good and the bad, fans have helped change the games we watch and the players we love.
They may not be the most logical people.
You are a factory of sadness! I'll see you Sunday.
But they know their teams better than anybody.
They'll blow in the ninth.
You may not always see them, but you know where to find them.
After all, there's nothing quite like the view from the cheap seats.
Broadcasting is part of the Public House Media Network.
Grab a chair and enjoy all there is in
The cheap seats.
Boy, does this feel good to be back. I hope everybody's new year was great. I know Alabama is currently nursing some very serious tears, but Tanner Burke, you and I, we have some interesting things to be worried about with this national title game that happened on Monday.
You know, there are a lot of things for us to be worried about in 2019, Max, and the one that bothers me the most is the fact that I'm still writing 8s, and they're very hard to turn into 9s. I don't know if you have the same problem.
That's your problem?
It's really stressful. It's causing a lot of personal issues.
Okay, quick story. One of my friends from high school, one time, this was nearly a decade ago, actually, that he was having trouble turning, I think, the 3s into 4s. And he had that problem throughout the entire school year. We had summer break. Then we came back and he was still having trouble. And by the time he got it set, it was December and it was almost 2015.
Oh, that poor kid.
Whatever.
How old was he? 26? 27?
Well, 16,
Probably about
17,
my age.
Given the age bracket, 16, 17.
Okay.
Anyway,
Perfect.
Thank you, Tanner, for that great introduction. Welcome into the Cheap Seats Wednesday edition. On this January 9th, we understand we have some very happy listeners in South Carolina right now, unless you're Gamecocks fans, in which case you're probably not happy that Clemson won the national championship over Alabama. But oh boy, the American public reacted swiftly and negatively to this game. The overnight ratings came in on Tuesday, and yeah, this was the worst of the matchups. It drew a 14.6 overnight rating for ESPN across the multiple channel broadcast, which is the lowest rated title game in the 5 years of the playoff.
You know what's crazy? And this is going to eliminate any credibility that I may have had left going into this show, Max, is the fact that I didn't watch the Alabama versus Clemson game, and I'm not mad about it. Honestly, it proves my point for what we've talked about in weeks past. I don't care about the college football playoffs. It doesn't mean anything to me. And from what I've heard, I haven't missed much.
So I want to just bring this up as a comparison. The title game in 2018 against Alabama against Georgia drew a 16.7 overall rating. Granted, this is a game that went to overtime. It played very well. And hang on, the ratings for Monday's title game topped out at 16.2. So the highest audience share wasn't even as good as the average from the year before.
Okay, so clearly they need to change this, right?
I mean, then again, though, the two top markets watching this game were Birmingham, Alabama at 56.6 and Greenville, South Carolina at 36.9.
Ooh, what a surprise.
Now, hang on a second, Tanner. I want to ask you, what other show on television was getting very, very good numbers?
I know what show it is, and I'm also going to say I didn't watch it. I didn't get the rose.
Okay, all right. You're referring to The Bachelor, and you're wrong.
Oh, God.
Okay, so at 8 p.m. on NBC, not ABC, America's Got Talent, The Champions was busy drawing a 1.8 or 9.9 million viewers.
Okay, so forgive me for thinking that it was The Bachelor. I don't even know what day of the week The Bachelor airs, nor do I care.
It airs Monday.
Okay, perfect. It's beside the point. You're telling me that the college football championship, this elite status of college football, this game that's supposed to be the best of the best, is being rivaled by America's Got Talent?
Yes.
I mean, what are we doing here? What is this crap? This is garbage.
That said, I mean, The Bachelor was right behind America's Got Talent with a 1.5 audience rating among adults 18 to 49, which is the sweet spot bracket that every advertiser wants to try to hit. And quite honestly, it was just a good night for Disney brands.
It's because Disney owns everything. It's always a good night for Disney brands.
You know, I really can't have that much to say about that, but we need to get to some other stuff as we need to get off of this train, because if we keep going on this train, we'll ruin the fourth segment, which is how to fix the halftime show, which was terrible.
Which is coming up in the fourth segment, by the way.
Okay, sorry, third.
Third
My
segment.
bad.
Well, right.
Anyway, Tanner, we have a couple of new head coaching hires. The head coaching carousel that was referred to on the Monday show is finally starting to heat up, and we finally have a little bit of an idea of where people are starting to end up. So I actually have to pull out my phone for this because this is just updating within the hour as we're recording this. So Matt LaFleur, hired as the Packers head coach, reportedly a 4-year deal. And Cliff Kingsbury, the Southern California saga that Christian and John brought up on Monday, this has apparently been resolved. Kingsbury is going to leave the Trojans program and go coach the Cardinals.
Interesting. I don't know. I mean, so I was thinking about this earlier today. The NFL, a lot of teams are going with these younger coaches, right?
Yes.
But these names like Mike McCarthy and the Harbaughs, I mean, they keep swimming around. I don't know why some of these teams that need coaches, like the Jets, for example, I don't know why they don't go take a chance on some young, fresh mind that is willing to do something out of the norm, almost college style. I mean, you're a big college football fan, Max. Like, wouldn't you rather watch a style of football in the NFL that is more similar to college? Not from a talent level, obviously, but
I would rather watch that. I would rather watch a more professionalized college game than the current game of the NFL, but I don't have that kind of decision-making power.
Neither of us do.
I know, you're right. Now, also, this is an interesting story. The Buccaneers are going to hire Bruce Arians, the former Cardinals head coach, and the former coach of the Buccaneers is going to now coach the Atlanta Falcons, reportedly. The former Buccaneers head coach will stay in the NFC South and will now coach Atlanta with Dirk Cotter as their coach.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Bruce Arians.
Super interesting how that worked out. But I have a different question for you, Tanner. Getting way back to the college game.
Okay.
If you were to put $1 on it right now, pick a team that wins next year's championship.
This is assuming I have $1 on me, right?
You're right. I am assuming that.
We all have student loans to pay, Max.
I understand.
$1 counts.
Yep. Fair enough.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with my bet here. My decision. My decision would be, I would put my dollar on Alabama, and I would put my dollar on Alabama as long as they don't change or as long as they maintain the current college football playoff standing or situation format. Excuse me. So I would put my dollar on Alabama because who wouldn't? You'd be an idiot not to root for Alabama with your dollar. You're not going to get much return on your investment, though. That's the problem. I think that's where we're at there.
Actually, you'd get quite a handsome return because it's plus 250 on Bovada's ads.
If I choose
for
Alabama?
Yeah, if you bet $1 on it right now.
I'm going to win $250 if I bet $1 on Alabama right now.
Again, these are the way too early odds.
Okay. Well, most of us out here realize that college football is rigged anyways. You telling me Alabama's not going to make the playoffs next year?
I'd like to tell you that, but I'd probably be wrong.
Okay, well, let's grab all of our dollars and go invest in an Alabama championship next year.
That doesn't sound like a terrible idea, but you know what is terrible?
What?
The injury luck that the Arizona Coyotes have had. And
Hasn't
with that,
been good. Hasn't been
with that,
good.
we're going to head to our first break because we're back on the transition machine. We're going to be talking about the National Hockey League in our next segment. The Arizona Coyotes have been bad, mostly because of their injury problems. The Canadians will not be buying, and Tanner and I will distribute some halfway awards as we hit the halfway point of the NHL season. Thank you for joining us in the Cheap Seats presented by Squadcast.fm.
Hi, this is Emily.
This is Lindsay.
And this is Elizabeth,
co-hosts of Beauties and Headcanons here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Once you are done with this episode, we hope you'll come check out our show, Beauties and Headcanons, where we talk nerdy to you about fandoms, fan fiction, and all pop culture for nerds that you can think of. A new show comes out every Friday.
Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Daniel Poppy, host of How to Write Good here on Public House Media. I just want to thank you for listening to the following broadcast brought to you by Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope that you'll come check out my show, How to Write Good, the writing show that is not about writing. A new show of How to Write Good comes out every Wednesday, so don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of How to Write Good. Again, thanks for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Nick Schmaltz is the latest name to go down on the injured reserve list for the Arizona Coyotes. He is out for the season with an unspecified any further lower body injury. Welcome back to the Cheap Seats. I'm Max Walpuff. Tanner Burke is across from me. And Arizona is sitting dead last in the Pacific Division. This is despite having a semi-decent record of 18-21-3. And also having the most shorthanded goals in the league, which is incredible.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, to get a team who has the most shorthanded goals in the league, that's not an easy thing to do, Max. For those of you who don't know a darn thing about hockey, what shorthanded means is you're down one player. And they score the most goals, and they're not a good team. Well, at least in most statistics and categories.
Again, Tanner, you read me the number while we were on break. What was the number of goals again?
Let's see here. I had it 106 goals for and 117 goals against. Let me see if I can find how many goals they actually had shorthanded.
While you're doing that, Arizona is still sitting last, and they've hit some big injuries. Antti Raanta, one of their goaltenders, lower body injury. He looks like he's done for the year. Michael Grabner with an eye injury. He looks like he's been out for a while. Jason Demers and Christian Dvorak are both gone. And that right there is basically a starting lineup for Arizona.
Okay, so here, what I found, and it's I feel like they have to have more than this, but this is still a significant number. Right here it says they have 11 shorthanded goals, which is still a lot.
Still good.
But I feel like, okay, so I got to be honest. I just counted how many shorthanded goals the players that are currently on the roster have. So that could be without. No, Grabner's there. Grabner's got 4. That's amazing. Grabner has 6 points, 4 goals, and 2 assists playing on the penalty kill.
That's amazing.
I'll sign him up. I'll take him. Even if he is injured with an eye injury.
Hey, you need your eyes to see, right?
Yeah, well, obviously.
So, Tanner, speaking of something that people can see, they can see Montreal climbing.
They can. Everybody in Buffalo is recognizing it, too.
Yeah, the Buffalo Sabres are checking out the rearview mirror right now and seeing Montreal rolling down the highway. They currently sit right about the edge of the playoff line in the Eastern Conference. And their general manager, Marc Bergevin, who is the scourge of the internet in Montreal, he said some things at a press conference on Monday, saying that he wasn't going to I'm going to actually just quote him directly here. I'm not going to give up a first-round pick for a rental. It's just not going to happen. So I want to be clear, today, it's not happening.
All right. Well, here's
timeline on him trading a first-round pick for a rental.
Listen, Max is throwing up the shrug. Like, I don't know, man. Listen, okay, so this is tough because Montreal is in a similar position to Buffalo right now, and I'm just going to bring up Buffalo because obviously I'm a diehard Sabres fan. So Buffalo has a solid pool of young players. If I said that the average player on Buffalo or the average age of a player on Buffalo is like 23, I probably wouldn't be that far off. So they have a lot of young talent, and they're probably going to make the playoffs. Montreal has a lot of young talent. They're probably going to make the playoffs. Montreal isn't really worried about winning this year. They'd like to win this year, but at the end of the day, they're worried about long-term success, not just this year. If they trade away some of these young players to go get a rental for the year and they don't win, now they're screwed for the next 5 years. Maybe not screwed, but it's certainly going to hurt them. And that's why I think, much like Montreal, I think Buffalo is going to do the same thing. If Jason Botterill hasn't already said that he's not going to trade young talent for a rental, he probably will say it. Now, here's where the reality kicks in, Max, and this is why you were shrugging. They're absolutely going to go get a rental. That's how this sport works. GMs do it every single year. When it comes down to it, the pressure's on. The media's putting pressure on them. And the teams pull the trigger on some guy who could maybe help them win a championship. At the end of the day, the life expectancy of a general manager and a coach isn't 5 years. You know what I mean? So if they screw up and they don't win or whatever, that's on them. So a lot of these guys will pull the trigger.
I know what you mean, and not every trade deadline acquisition at the end of February can be what the Capitals got in Michael Kempny, who was pretty much the perfect complement to John Carlson heading into the playoff run. That doesn't happen very often. That's one of those super rare moments where it was the exact right change of scenery and the exact right fit, and it's ended up working out just fine. That doesn't happen very often. More often than not, teams swing big like the Capitals did the year before, trying to get Kevin Shattenkirk, and that ended up going so poorly wrong.
Unfortunately.
Which, again, those misses are way more frequent than the hits. And yes, there is a huge problem in the NHL of, at least from the outsider's perspective, not enough chaos and not enough movement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, watching hockey off-season is way less interesting than watching basketball off-season.
Yeah, the most exciting part of like an NHL offseason is watching like a player like Steven Stamkos test out free agency and the teams around the league and then say, you know what? No thanks. I'm going back to Tampa Bay. Which is again basically just a tease for everybody.
Yes, but the day he did that, what other two things craziness that happened? The Hall-Larson 1-for-1 and the Subban-Weber 1-for-1 on the same day within 30 minutes of each other.
Very impressive.
Which doesn't happen.
I can barely remember what I had for breakfast this morning, Max, and you're over here remembering everything that happened on the day Stamkos re-signed with the Lightning. I love it. I'm impressed.
I remember that because I was assigned to cover Capitals development camp that day, and it was the big fan fest was that night. So I was hanging around talking with a friend of mine, and our phones buzz with the Hall for Larson trade. So it's like, wait a second, what? So we're just going back and forth. A few minutes go by, that our phones buzz again. Stamkos re-ups. And then maybe 2 minutes later, Weber Subban happens. And at that point, I take my phone and I run into the media room at Kettler Capitals Iceplex and I scream that Montreal just traded PK Subban. One of the other writers just takes one look at me and says, "You're full of," it's something I can't say.
You're full of expletive.
Yes, you're full of expletive. Everybody else, you can picture that in your own head. It's exactly what you think. I tell him, go to Twitter right now. I'm telling you the truth. And he couldn't believe it either.
Wow. What a horrible, horrible move that was.
Anyhow, speaking of not so horrible moves, there are a couple players making some great moves that are up for the halfway awards. Tanner, are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I'm ready.
Halfway awards, are you going to pick the Homer Award and just give the Calder Trophy to Rasmus Dahlin right now?
I will tell you let me just go through this list here, Max, and I'll tell you my predictions, and you can tell me if you think I'm right or wrong. Jack Adams, clearly Phil Housley. General Manager of the Year, clearly Jason Botterill. Rookie of the Year, the Calder's going home to Rasmus Dahlin. Let's just in a fantasy world, since you are a Washington Capitals fan and I'm a Sabres fan, let's say that my boy Jeff Skinner passes Alexander Ovechkin and takes home the Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy.
Oh boy,
was that 5? What other trophies can I? MVP, Jack Eichel, clearly.
Norris.
Let's be real. Let's be real here. So
you want to give the Norris to Dahlin as well?
Yeah, I got to draw the line there. You can't give an 18-year-old to Norris. You can't do it.
Okay, Tanner. I think you're completely incorrect on most of those.
What about the Lady Bing?
Oh boy. Oh my goodness.
Who's like the Andrew? Okay, I'm curious though, because Andrew Luck is such a. I mean, he's such a buttercup on the field, but he's like the manliest man. You know, like he gets pounded, in the face, and he'll get up and say "nice hit." Like who's that version in the NHL? Is there a player out there that just gets absolutely crushed and gets up and goes "nice hit, bud"?
I have absolutely no idea.
Hockey's an interesting sport. I love it.
I can tell you one thing. Tom Wilson ain't winning the Lady Bing.
Tom Wilson is not winning the Lady Bing. My God. Oh, that piece of expletive.
Okay. Wow. All right, Tanner. You and I have some issues to work out, I see.
Oh, yeah. Dirty players are hilarious.
I mean, at this point, I'm going to disagree, I think, on just about all of these. I'd give the Calder to Elias Pettersson in Vancouver. God. He's been having a fantastic year, and he might single-handedly drag Vancouver into the playoffs.
I just got to say, last time I checked, Rasmus Dahlin was tied for second among rookies for points, second among rookies for assists, and I think it was second or third for ice time. So, just saying, this is a defenseman, and he's tied among rookies for second in points and assists.
You know who's first?
Who?
Elias Pettersson.
Well, that would be why he would win the Calder then, wouldn't it?
Yes, you're probably right.
Jeez.
I mean, I'm sorry. I know Dahlin plays a different position and is asked to do different things, but Pettersson's having clearly some of the better seasons.
What time? Dahlin doesn't turn. This is off topic. Well, it's not really off topic. It's technically still on topic, but just a different point. Dahlin doesn't turn 19 until April.
Really?
Yeah, the kid's gonna be 18 for the entire season. He's a child.
Well then,
I love it. Good for him.
Okay, so Jack Adams, oh man. This is a much tighter race than it was last year, where it was Gerard Gallant and two guys who are going to lose to Gerard Gallant winning. At this point, I'd probably give it to Jared Bednar in Colorado.
Okay.
Which, again, right now, Colorado seems like the super easy pick of we weren't sure what to expect from them, but here they are, and they're wicked good. MVP right now, I mean, I understand the people who are crying John Gibson in Anaheim because Anaheim is so beat up. Like, Anaheim is a little bit like Arizona, except they have a goaltender.
Right.
And right now, Gibson, I mean, there's serious contention for him, but I don't know how you'd not give it to, like, the problem with the MVP award in hockey is so many people, and again, this is a similar problem to the MVP award in other sports. Do you give it to the best player in the season, or do you give it to the most valuable player for the team?
Because the most valuable player to a team could easily be somebody who's at the bottom of the league in standings.
Yeah,
that's why they'll never do that. It's unfortunate, but that's why they'll never do that.
This is why Connor McDavid didn't win it last year.
Correct.
So, again, if the Oilers make the playoffs, I'd probably say McDavid's probably going to win it because he's so important to that team.
He's a pretty important guy to that team. I think you're right there.
He's involved in like 60+% of team scoring, which is hilarious.
I mean, yeah. It's not hilarious for people in Edmonton, but yeah. It's good for him, I suppose.
I'm not totally sure who to give like the Norris to because the runaway favorites every year have taken a bit of a down year. Like Erik Karlsson's not having a great season. Neither is Brent Burns.
Yeah.
PK Subban's been hurt. Shea Weber's been hurt.
Sounds like a great year for Rasmus Dahlin to win the Norris.
Oh, dear Lord Almighty. You've already established that you're not going to give it to him.
I'm not the one handing out the awards.
You're correct.
I'm not giving anybody these awards. I would like to if if anybody's listening, they want to give me the opportunity to hand somebody a Vezina. That'd be great.
Oy vey, who wins the Vezina this year? I mean, Gibson's a pretty easy pick for Anaheim.
It's the Vezina. I feel like the Vezina is getting harder and harder to award just because of the all-around play of goaltenders in the league. It's all level. I think it's leveled out. You know what I mean? Goaltenders in the NHL, to me, are kind of like running backs in football right now. You can find one that can do just good enough for you to win games. But there's only a few elite goaltenders in the league. Like, you're not, just correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not seeing many guys go out there like the great ones, like the Hashicks, the Waz, even Curtis Joseph back in the day, like steal games from people. Like, you don't see that anymore, like regularly.
It's not as regular as it used to be, and I think that, to the flip side, is part of the reason that scoring is up in the NHL, which is good.
That is good. Except for goaltenders. They probably disagree.
You're probably right. I mean, Frederik Andersen's having a great year in Toronto, but at this point, I don't know how you'd not give it to Gibson because he's playing so out of his mind to keep the Ducks alive.
Yeah.
It's way too early to tell. It's so hard.
It is. I don't know. This is why we're doing it though, right? It's the halfway point. We're coming up on the can I just say, by the way, good for Jeff Skinner. The man deserved to be in the All-Star game.
He's having a good year. But hang on, we've reached the halfway point of something else, and you know what that means, Tanner?
Oh man, I can only imagine. Max, go ahead.
It's time to fix the halftime show because Monday night's show was an atrocity that needs to be corrected and recanted. It needs to be banned and canceled.
Oh my
Find
God.
out why when we come back from this break from the Cheap Seats presented on Public House Media. You can find out more about us on publichousemedia.org. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spreaker Podcasts. We're everywhere you can find a podcast. Banned and canceled. It's time to fix the halftime show.
This guy's on fire.
What's up, everybody? This is Christian Heimel, host of Press Row here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Press Row, where we talk about the biggest issues in sports with the analysts, experts, and reporters who cover them. No nonsense, hard-hitting interviews on the sports topics you're talking about. A new show comes out every single Thursday. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Press Row. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Bryce Burge, host of Your Soccer Passport here on Public House Media. After this episode, come join us on a trip around the soccer world as we discuss club and country every Tuesday. Stamp your soccer passport by subscribing on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your Public House Media podcasts. And thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Tanner, this was probably the most painful part of watching the national championship game. Hi again, everybody. Welcome back to the Cheap Seats, presented to you by Squadcast.fm and brought to you wherever podcasts can be found. Be sure to give us a rate and a review on iTunes while you're here, as we rate and review Monday's halftime show, because people are still talking about it a couple days later. Tanner, did you watch any of it?
No. I thought about it. I thought about it.
You're a smart man.
Only because there's a song from Imagine Dragons that I like, and they were playing the halftime show. But
okay, Tanner, we can't be friends.
Why?
You like a song by Imagine Dragons, we can't be friends anymore.
Hey, listen, man. It's 2019. Anything's possible. Did you just assume my genre?
No, I didn't just assume your genre. I assumed that you lack a taste in rock music.
Is it even considered rock music? It's like
rock.
I'll call it rop or pock.
Pop rock.
Music.
Well, actually, what's the difference between what's the difference between pop rock and Imagine Dragons?
It just sounds like they should be in a bag of candy that make your tongue sizzle.
One makes you tingle on the inside. The other is Imagine Dragons. That's what I was getting at.
Oh, we just went weird.
Yes, we did. I hate Imagine Dragons, so I was definitely not going to watch the halftime show. So what I did was, at the exact halftime whistle, I had a timer on my phone for 18 minutes. I started it. I turned off the TV. I went to the bathroom. I got out my computer, did a little bit of work. My timer went off. I turned the TV back on, and the second half had already started.
Okay.
So I hate Imagine Dragons. I turned off my television. I hated them so much. My thinking went, if something happens, I'll hear about it. And sure enough, something happened because Lil Wayne showed up.
There it is. I was going to say, well, you know what you would probably hate more than Imagine Dragons? Imagine Dragons with Lil Wayne. Sorry, Lil Wayne.
I couldn't understand why this was a crossover that needed to happen, and neither could plenty of people on the internet. There were plenty of posts mocking what Lil Wayne was wearing, comparing him to the Hamburglar with the stripes. There were some comparisons to him to Dr. Teeth, which I had not seen in months.
Interesting.
And then there was a great one from the M4 Sports on Twitter with a look at Lil Wayne as the aliens from Space Jam, all dressed up in a trench coat, scarf, and a hat, trying to watch the Knicks game. Remember that scene?
Oh, of course I do. Of course I do. It's the most important scene in the movie.
There were some great scenes in there, but that's the scene where we get introduced to their ability to take away talent from people.
Like, yo, you know what, Max? I figured it out. I know where Charles Barkley's golf swing went.
Where?
It's still in the basketball.
No! Oh, no!
It's still... The Monstars still have Charles Barkley's golf swing.
I wonder if the second Space Jam uses that.
Oh my God. I hope to God that happens.
All right. Anyway, back to the halftime show.
Right. Yes.
So this atrocious, terrible halftime show got me thinking.
What did it get you thinking about? I'm sorry.
How can we fix this?
I don't know. Oh, actually, I do know. I have a couple ideas, but go ahead.
So I have an interesting suggestion, and I want to hear what people think in today's poll question. So what's a better halftime option? The big-time commercial band like we saw Monday, or my suggestion, we let the school bands decide this. We give the field to the Alabama and Clemson bands and let them have a band off, for lack of a better phrase.
That actually would be extremely interesting.
I would love to see a battle of the college bands, Alabama versus Clemson, head-to-head on the football field. They're there anyway. Despite the blowout status, they're not leaving.
You know what's amazing about that is I would actually watch the national championship game just for that.
You see, I have converted one fan. ESPN, give me a call. I have an idea for you.
I would be like every 20-year-old girl during a Super Bowl party, just only watching the commercials and only looking forward to Lady Gaga being ziplined in at halftime. All I want to see is the Alabama marching band take on the Clemson marching band for about 10 minutes.
And the Super Bowl runs into this too. They keep having the problem of what act do they give this to? Listen, man, give it to a school band. Give it literally to the smallest act.
Max, I got to be honest here. For my Wild Wednesday segment, it has to do with the halftime show for the Super Bowl.
Uh-oh, I'm now getting worried about your Wild Wednesday segment.
Oh my God, you were going to love it. Anyways, so that's coming up later.
That's coming up after this break, after the break that's coming up, but...
Not yet. We're not breaking yet.
Not yet, but I'm still amazed that someone as high as the governor of Kentucky chimed in about how bad the halftime show was.
Listen, college football is not the place for big-time bands. I Imagine Dragons, like, who cares? You know what I mean?
I don't.
It's like they're trying too hard to be the Super Bowl halftime show, and that's not why people watch the Super Bowl. People watch the Super Bowl because it's historic, it's good content, it's usually Tom Brady. It's for college football, you have to come up with different ways other than just here's Mariah Carey. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I'm of the belief to give college sports back to the students.
I love it. I think it should, and I think you are absolutely right. That would be, and make it a tradition. Let's see it every year. You know, if Alabama goes back to another championship, now you're seeing the same marching band on the biggest stage going up against another contender. It's almost like, it's another competition in itself.
It's almost another national championship game.
Yeah, that would be really fun. It'd be really cool.
It's a game within the game. Can one band win your heart over the other?
What if we did something crazy for college football? Like, what if college football took a complete 180, and all of a sudden you got like David Copperfield out there doing the halftime show, or David Blaine? I got it. It's a magician off between David Copperfield and David Blaine. Which is the better David?
Man,
I'm pretty sure David Copperfield would punch David Blaine in the face. That's just a thought.
Okay, man, before he disappears or after he disappears, or while they're both invisible.
Yeah, the whole show is the fact that neither of them are actually there, and for 15 minutes everybody's just wondering, is this the trick? Is this it?
It's like that scene in SpongeBob where SpongeBob tries to get into the salty spittoon and Patrick pretends to get beat up by nothing.
Yeah.
That'll just be the disappearing magician. Where'd he go? And he just feels a punch. I don't know why that was my first thought when I thought that, but wow, that's amazing.
It's because we're 90s kids that love their SpongeBob. I'm sure most of our listeners do too.
Okay, so our listeners, back to them. I do want to hear what you think. what is a better halftime show option? The commercial band, like we saw Monday with Imagine Dragons and Lil Wayne, or the school bands taking back the halftime show?
Wait. Can we add in a third option?
I don't know if we're able to. I think on Twitter we can add multiple options.
Okay. Well, go comment on the post and tell me you want to see David Blaine versus David Copperfield. We'll just call it the battle of the Davids. Just to make it even, we'll throw David Bobke in there too, just to commentate on it.
All right. We've got Wild Wednesday coming up for all y'all. And don't worry, you're going to want to hear what Tanner had to say about Wild Wednesday because it's time to get wild and crazy. We'll be right back.
On the cheap seats. I'll finish it up for you.
This is Jessica Hammer, co-host of Crowned and Dangerous here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you are done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Crowned and Dangerous, where Maddie and I talk about all things pageant related, especially our experiences in the Miss America organization. A new show comes out bi-weekly, every other Thursday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Crowned and Dangerous. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is John Lauder, host of The Cheap Seats here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, The Cheap Seats, where we talk about sports from the fans' perspective. A new show comes out every Monday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of The Cheap Seats. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
It's time to get wacky and wild today on Wild Wednesday. I'm Max Walpluff. Tanner Burke is with me as always. Tanner, you have something you've been waiting the whole show to tell me about, and now is your chance. I am letting you take lead off on this one. Hit a home run. Here we go.
Oh, boy. Max.
Tanner.
All right. So I teased it before. My Wild Wednesday has to do... First off, let me just say, for those of you listening for the first time, Max and I are two wild and crazy guys. And, Wild Wednesday is our favorite segment here on the Cheap Seats Wednesday edition. But yeah, I teased this before. And, Max, you're going to love this. And I hope I'm wrong when I say I don't think you've heard this yet. Because I'm not that clever. I'm also not in the know, in most things at least.
And?
So for my Wild Wednesday, we're going to have the Bubble Bowl.
Oh,
Super Bowl
on board.
Halftime show, SpongeBob SquarePants and the gang, 2019, maybe 2020. Got to give him some time to prep. But
Well,
so here's
Squiddy, this is exactly how I pictured your band would look.
How was that?
That's his eager face. I've always been on board with this. How is this doing? How is it actually happening?
So have you heard about this?
I have heard about the petition, but I haven't seen anything about its success or anything.
It's got well over 1 million signatures. It's so for those of you listening that don't know, there is a petition out there to do the SpongeBob Super Bowl halftime show, aka the Bubble Bowl. One of the greatest SpongeBob moments in history. It's an entire possibility, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium, when asked to do it, tweeted out a picture of our little yellow friend and his gang, and it could be a confirmation. So obviously,
Wait a second.
This is
there
all.
was a tweet.
Yeah,
there was a tweet.
There was a tweet. So Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This is back on December 12th. Tweeted out a GIF of SpongeBob and the gang dancing. That sounds pretty legit. That sounds like that's not a joke. They're actually thinking about it. So,
okay.
This is all in light of Steven Hillenberg passing away at age 57, by the way. Which this would be the greatest honor to that man. He definitely did a lot. I'm seeing a tweet right now. This is from at a Hungry Buffalo, and it says "Hungry Sad Broncos Fan." That's the guy's name, apparently. And it's a gif of SpongeBob dried up in Sandy Cheeks' fishbowl, and it just says, "I need it." So yeah, I want to see it.
Man, I'm all on board with this being a thing. I am so on board with that happening.
How cool would that be?
It would be so cool. I mean, I would tolerate it if the band they picked, I'm forgetting who, plays the song Sweet Victory. I would tolerate that. But I'd have it even better if they took like a 2-minute break and just had the Bikini Bottom, like if they just had the SpongeBob clip and they just went and got a water break. That would be even better.
I wonder what songs they would play. They'd have to play Sweet Victory.
Well, Sweet Victory for sure. I mean, that's the obvious one.
I mean, I don't know. Sounds great. Let's do it.
I'm all on board. So, Tanner, I've got an interesting Wild Wednesday for you that I'm pretty sure you have not seen, but also there are a couple of other things that you probably haven't seen. They all have to do with the government shutdown that is, Czechs Watch, still going on.
Oh, boy.
So, Mick Mulvaney, the current chief of staff at the White House, he, a couple weeks ago, according to reports out of the Post and Courier in Charleston, put in a formal request to become the president of the University of South Carolina.
Are you serious?
I am very serious. No less than a state representative confirmed it to the paper.
So when the government shuts down, obviously the paychecks stop rolling in. So you got to put food on the table, man.
But he's essential personnel. He gets paid.
So this is his side job.
Man, I don't know. Like
everybody's got to have a side gig. You know what I mean?
Okay, it's still super interesting to me that this is even coming out, that he has interest in taking the job. But I want to point out that this is still something that is way in the future. This is a search for South Carolina that has not happened yet. Like their current university president is retiring after, I think, his 11th year in charge is what the article says. But he would still have to win over faculty and students because he has no academic background.
I'm confused how you're even allowed to take a job like this when you're...
He hasn't taken it. This is just something he's interested in.
I'm interested in being an astronaut, Max, but listen, I have a real job. Kind of. But you know what? I'm not going and applying to be an astronaut. And it's not because my body is not physically capable of taking on the vacuum elements of space. I have a job. Responsibilities. America.
All right. So there's one more thing I want to bring up with the government shutdown. And any government employees out there that listen to this, start freeing up your schedules because you're getting some free basketball.
Perfect.
George Washington, George Mason, and the Capital City Go-Go have announced free tickets for all government employees who are currently on furlough or on unpaid leave.
Why though?
Why? Because these families need something to do. And currently, the paychecks have stopped coming. I mean, as of Friday, this will be the first paycheck cycle for a lot of agencies to not pay their employees. Money's drying up, but people still have to be entertained. Some of these federal employees, they've got young kids. And what do those young kids want to do? They want to go watch some college basketball.
Do they, though?
GW and George Mason are banking on this.
Okay, whatever. I mean, that's cool. It's good for them, right? It's good for them. They get to go to a basketball game. I always loved going to sporting events when I was a kid. And it's probably putting butts in empty seats, right? So, whatever.
Man, I'm on board.
It's good PR.
I am all on board with the region banding together, especially for the DC, Virginia area that is so heavily populated by government employees and government contractors. Give them a chance. Just give them something to do.
Yeah, why not? Hey, Max, I got a question.
Yeah.
Is this our first show together since before Christmas?
Yes, it is.
We have been off for far too long. Oh, my God.
Yeah, a lot's happened since we talked last, Tanner.
One thing that I need to be upset about that we haven't been upset about yet. Kind of upset that University of Central Florida didn't go undefeated 2 years in a row. I would have loved to have that discussion.
Yeah, I'm a little upset about that, but that's life of the sport.
It's the life of the sport, but we're trying to fix college football. We're trying to fix it, and you and I have talked about it time and time again about how to fix it.
I mean, I already said to many people, if they went undefeated and had back-to-back defending champions shirts, I would have bought the shirt immediately. And sadly, I don't get a chance to buy that shirt.
That would have been a great shirt. I would have been all in on that. Are you gonna bet $1 on Alabama to win next year? Because I might throw $5 down and just walk home with a cool grand.
Tanner, I don't gamble.
Listen, man, I don't either. Hardly. Okay, maybe sometimes, but never illegally. But $1 to win $250 betting on Alabama to win the championship when we all know it's rigged anyways. This is like insider trading. Just go do it. It's the best investment you'll make.
Nope, I don't do it. Nope,
All right.
Not me.
All right. What about do you do fantasy football?
Nope.
No, you don't. Oh my God. You do fantasy hockey though, don't you?
Nope.
Okay. Have you ever been in a Super Bowl pool?
Yes, and I hated my experience in it.
Okay. You heard it here first, folks. Max Wolpoff, sports gambler.
That was one time. Let it go already. All right, is that really your last thought on this Wednesday, Tanner? Is that what you want to send everybody away with?
You being a sports gambler?
Yes. Is that what you really want to leave a lasting impression on?
You know what? Something eventful did happen to me, and I didn't tell you yet, but I moved into a new apartment over the weekend, and I'm living with my brother and another one of our friends. It's a really nice apartment. The building was built just a couple years ago, and we're hanging up these pictures and stuff on the walls, and we put this poster up, or this picture with this big frame. We put the nail into the wall about 7 feet up in the center of this piece of wall, and it starts spraying us through this pinhole. And the only way I can describe it to you is it's like a squirt gun running out of water. But it just keeps coming. It just keeps going. So that's how I ended my Sunday night. And so now we have a hole in our drywall. And I have to tell you though, this piece of tube that we nailed into is literally, it crosses the wall and it's 1 inch thick. If we were a 1/2 inch to the left, 1/2 inch to the right, up or down, we would have missed it. So things are going really well in the new apartment.
Amazing.
So yeah, I'll leave them with that. I made my walls cry.
Okay. I think that definitely trumps what I'm going to leave people with, is that I've applied to 10 law schools as of now. So moving and shaking things up in here.
Is that your side gig?
I mean, that's the plan after college, is to go to law school, which basically means my first year of law school is I'm going to have to quit everything I'm doing.
Hey, you know what? You'll be good at whatever you do, my friend. Of course.
I appreciate that. And to our listeners, I hope you're good at whatever you're doing today. I really hope that you have a great day, and I hope you enjoy everything that life has to offer today. And today, we leave you with that. On this Wednesday edition, Matt and Jake will take care of you on Friday. But for us here in the cheap seats, that will do it. For Tanner, I am Max. Thank you, and have a great Wednesday.